ladies and gentlemen, we have a little bit more of Datamine information, and this time it's actually by the second Dataminer. That's right, there's actually two, all right? So the second one from the Grassy Knoll just came out with some information about the main and offhand slots. If you didn't know about this previous, I will get you up to date real quick. In one of my previous videos, we discussed that the first Dataminer found some information showing that there's new main and offhand slots, which have something to do with skills. We weren't sure what it was at the time. Well, nowadays, it looks like they have more information on it, so let's take a look. Now, what they break down is that this only becomes available once you have hit Hell 8. There is a new button that you can press, effectively a new ability that's going to go on right here. There should be a new ability. Now, they go on further to exclaim that this new ability that you can is picking between one or two, which is called poses. In each of these classes gets two new poses, which are broken down right here. We'll talk about this in a moment because there is a variety of them to not choose from, but your class dictates which of the poses you get. So I know it sounds complicated, but just stay with me for a moment. He has no idea when, if this is slated to be released. However, most of the time in the Datamine, it looks like these guys almost never miss, and he's guessing that you'll be able to slot gems in these new slots, but he's not certain at that point. So that is speculation, and we're not going to bother speculating on that itself. This time, we're only going to talk about the Datamine. So effectively, how this works is you have different classes that have access to different poses. You can choose one of the two poses to have the active for. Now, the active, for instance, in some of these are quite good. Increases your skill critical strike by 45% for 3 seconds. And the passive to having that one increases your skill critical strike by 15 seconds. So some of these are like going to obviously increase damage massively. You look at the other ones, some of these are obviously going to be PvP related. Look at control pose, stuns nearby enemies for 3 seconds. So that's basically that ancestral invocation is now basically just an active button. You can push it anytime. Don't know that we need more CC, but that is what it is. Now, the passive here adds 40% deceleration effect to basic attacks or 20% to players. I'm assuming this is like a movement speed slow, deceleration, etc. The rage one's interesting. The basic attack speed's increased by 45%, and the passive gives you a 15% increase in speed, but the only person who actually gets the rage is the barbarian, which brings us to the defensive, as they get the rage plus defensive bonuses. So if you look here, the defensive pose is active. Gain a shield equal to 200% of your own damage for 3 seconds, and your passive reduces damage received by 10%. So effectively how this works is your class has two poses. You pick an active button that you can pick on each one of them, but you can choose between I want this pose or I want this pose, and you get the passive stats. Then you also get the active bonus when you click on that button. Okay, so if you go down the list, you see like Monk has precise plus recovery. What precise does is a basic attack crit rate increased by 45%. So obviously monks are going to be destroying people even more so than they already are. And then here, basic attack crit rate is increased by 15% just as a passive. Okay. Recovery, this one seems very lame, equals a healing equal to 180% of your own damage. I don't think this is that exciting. If you look at my stats, for instance, and you look in the game here, like let's just say 15,000 damage and 170,000 health. That would be like, even if it was a 200% healing, that would be like 30,000 health for this much HP. I don't really think that one looks very exciting. So the monk is, I suppose, not getting the more exciting of the secondary one, but you're going to be picking that crit rate percentage literally regardless. So I wouldn't be too worried about it. Now, the demon hunter gets precise plus agility. Precise is that basic attack one once again, but then agility gives you a dash forward 3 meters and your movement speed increased by 10%, okay? And then Crusader gets focus plus defense. Focus is that skill critical rate, and then the defense is once again your shield and your passive of reduced damage received by 10%. The Necromancer gets taming plus agility. Taming here giving you summons have a haste for 45% or 15% of the passive, and then agility is that movement speed plus the dash one. And then what's interesting is they actually have the Blood Knight in here. Focus plus defensive. Okay, so Blood Knight has been datamined to have these as well. So this could be something that's coming with like the anniversary event, the next major update. We get some big changes. They did mention in the 2023 looking ahead sort of roadmap thing that there was going to be changes to gameplay. Was one of the things that they said. Some changes to gameplay. I think that this would probably qualify as changes to gameplay. One thing I would say is that not all of these are created equal. Getting a healing equal to 100% of your 80 damage is pretty trash, but the only one they actually gave that to is the monk, which I'm kind of okay with because the monk is kind of strong, but they also gave precise to him with the basic crit rate, etc. There are other classes in here that I think got it. I mean, everyone kind of at least got one decent one. I mean, everyone seems like they got something decent. Like the Tamine for the Necromancer makes sense. I don't know why you would have a summon one for anyone else. Okay, but you can use the defensive agility one if you want. The Crusader got focus, which gives it a skill crit, which maybe it doesn't synergize as much with it if you have banner or something, but maybe it does. That's the reason why, because it increases your critical damage more, etc. So I'm not quite sure how I would feel about getting the defensive one, which gains a shield equal to your own damage. But then again, being able to proc your own shield could be kind of nice, because if you had like the Nettled for cursed gear or something, I could see you proccing your own shield and then using the Nettled damage or something like that. So maybe it's actually a little better than it just looks on first takeover. Just the first look of this makes me think anything with increased critical strike, that's obviously just the one you want, and that seems like the best. But the more you look at it, I mean, things like the stun, the control, it looks like only the wizard has control, which makes sense. I mean, if you're in the back line, most of the times I feel like I'm getting chased down by monk and stuff, or the classes that do the diving, right? Like even necromancer with fear sometimes, etc. And so having a stun for that defensively might be kind of nice as well, maybe give you some kiting potential. So it looks like they're at least attempting to match these with the ones that could correctly use it. Okay, so effectively, if you're wondering what this is, main weapon pose plus additional weapon pose, and you like swap between the poses, it would be my guess, depending upon which of these two you actually want to utilize at the time. Looks kind of cool, to be honest. Now, let's talk about one thing, I suppose, the legendary gems. If this has additional legendary gem spots, that means a couple things. That would mean that, I don't know if this additional gear spot, you can also put essences and stuff on. They don't really talk about that at all in this. I would assume not. I would think if you could have additional essences in the main and offhand, this could potentially break some things. Like there's two main weapon spots that contradict each other in classes, like the Arcane Torrent, etc. So I'm more likely thinking this is just an active ability thing, and not necessarily you can, slot legendary gems on it, or you can add essences or all this other. Probably they're sticking to the 6, and this is just a pose type of thing, if I had to guess myself. But if you could put more additional legendary gems on it, could we potentially see a raise in the maximum resonance coming to the game? Could there be tier 23 wings or whatever wing tier we're up to now at this point? I don't know. I doubt it, though, if I had to guess myself. But as far as the Datamine goes, this is actually quite interesting. I'll put a link down in the description or in the pinned comment, probably the easier spot to get to it if you want to read through and pick through this all yourself. But the ones that really stick out in my head are that, basic attack crit rate, basic attack speed seems all right, but it's only on the Barbarian. Critical strike seems very good. The passive movement speed would be very nice for overworld farming. The passive and active of the summon haste for the Necromancer is great. The AoE stun for Wizard seems pretty good. All of these would be quite exciting. Unlocking at Hell 8 means it's sort of an in-game type of thing. This isn't going to be early game. They seem to be gaining more and more essences and more activities sorted to the higher hell difficulties. So that way I think you're not too overwhelmed with all the new content as a new player. But that's about it for this video. So like the video if you liked it, subscribe if you want to see more, and I'll see you on the next video. And we're live right now at twitch.tv/DarthMicrotransaction, where this was recorded. So see you on that one.